The day I was tied to the Dry Creek grandstand, they offered me for half the price of a horse. But the real reason wasn't because I stole a horse, as they said. It was because I'd seen something I wasn't supposed to see, and the hoof scar behind my left shoulder, the mark they'd burned into my flesh, wasn't to mark me as theirs. If you live, you'll ruin us all. I wasn't dead, and now that secret was about to come out. I lived in the West, moving towns from town to town, not to make money, simply to avoid being recognized. I took horses for hire, carried light loads, patched saddles, and occasionally fixed gun locks for strangers. Just enough money to sleep in a corner of a cheap motel room and not go hungry for 3 meals a day. I avoided crowds, avoid bars. Where are you from? Why are you traveling alone? Do you have a family? The more I asked, the faster I had to leave. Every morning, I checked the back of my shirt, trying to pull the collar up to cover the hoof scar. It was black, curved, uneven, the mark of a red-hot iron bar on my skin. I didn't look at it for long. Every time I looked, old memories came flooding back. The only person who asked me directly was old Harper at the water station. That mark, Clayborn Riders, right? Yes. He was silent for a moment, then said, "If you stick with them, don't stay in Dry Creek long." "I'm only staying 1 night." He looked at me as if I were lying, and I always lie about how long I stay. That night, I rented a small room on the 2nd floor of the Bell House Inn. The door was old and shaky. I had to use a hook from my pocket to fix the hinges. As I put down my saddle, there was a loud banging on the door downstairs. It wasn't the usual sound of a guest. A familiar voice. Deep, dull, very clear. "Check every room. Where's the girl with the mark here?" I stood still. I knew that voice. I'd heard it close to my ear, just before the hot iron touched my skin. "Marshall won't let you do anything big. Just take her to the stands." I tightened my grip on the pistol in my pocket. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from anger. I thought I had run far enough. My door was kicked open. A man burst in, grabbed my arm, and yanked me down the stairs. My instinctive reaction was to elbow him in the nose. He cursed, but 2 others rushed in to hold me back. "Got her," one of them yelled. "The girl with the mark." Again. They dragged me away before I could reach my gun. I was used to being chased, but this time I felt like they had a clear plan, not to capture me to intimidate me, but to end what had happened. The secret I carried was scaring them so much that they were going to do everything they could to make me disappear from this world. They dragged me out to Dry Creek Square like a sack. Sand flew into my eyes, and I could still see people ducking to the sides as if I had the plague. More trouble. A wooden platform was set up in the middle of the square. I was pushed up, my legs buckled, and then jerked to my feet. The ropes tightened around my wrists, where they had left marks. Marshall Cade stepped out, holding a piece of paper in his hand, his voice weary. "Ayana Hale, charged with stealing a horse from the Clayborn Riders." I said loudly, without any courtesy, "You know it's not true, Marshall. You just wrote it down as they said it." He looked at me for a second and then ducked away, as if afraid of getting caught. The leader of the riders, Tate Clayborn, stood on the ground, arms folded, and said loudly enough for the whole square to hear, "He came into our camp, brought out his horse, caught him in the act. If you don't believe him, just hand him over to us. We'll settle it internally." You settle it internally by burning people in the warehouse, right, Tate? The atmosphere fell. A few people were startled, but no one dared to look at him directly. Tate glanced at me, his eyes flashing. "You're crazy. If you say one more bad word, I'll tell Marshall to charge you with slander." Marshall cleared his throat, trying to maintain order. "Be quiet. This is the time to announce." He turned to the crowd, reading each word clearly. "Whoever accepts guardianship, responsibility for the town, the defendant will be handed over to that person. If not," he glanced quickly at Tate, not finishing his sentence. People who had hired me to lead horses, who had asked me to lead them over the hills. Everyone bowed their heads. No one raised a hand. The wind blew, and the tattered flags fluttered overhead. I thought, okay, done. This time, they're taking me for real. I was mentally prepared to be stuffed into a sack and dragged somewhere on the edge of the desert. Then there was the sound of chairs being dragged from the crowd. A man's voice, deep and clear. I'll take it. Everyone parted. The old brown hat, the dusty coat, the walk of someone who'd known me for a long time. He advanced step by step, not in a hurry, not showing off his skills. Name, Marshall asked. Colton Ward. Ward, do you know who you're messing with? I know. Just because a girl bears our mark? Colton looked up at me, then turned back. Because I hate seeing innocent people being sold. Okay, keep it safe. We'll come get it someday. Marshall hesitated for a few seconds, then tapped his hand on the platform railing. Recorded. From now on, Colton Ward is responsible for Ayana. The rope was untied. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of today. We'll come back tomorrow night. Last time you burned the warehouse, you said the same thing, but I'm still standing here. He pushed my shoulder, but didn't dare do anything more in public. Let's go. I looked at the bottle of water, then at him. Do you know what you've brought upon yourself? He replied, his voice flat. Yes, but if I don't raise my hand, you won't live until dinner tonight. I was silent, took a sip. The water wasn't tasty, but my throat felt better. I walked beside him, stepping down the 4 wooden steps of the platform, thinking, this is strange. I've been hiding all my life. This is the first time someone has stepped up for me. Colton's ranch wasn't big. Old wooden fence, 3 horses in a stable. 1-story wooden house, low roof. Not like a ranch for someone who wants to be famous. Like someone who just wants a roof, nothing more. He led the horse into the stable and said, there's water and dry bread in the house. Come in. I sat down on the wooden chair by the window. My gun, which had been taken by the riders, was now on the table right in front of Colton. I asked, how long are you going to keep my gun? Until you're sure you didn't shoot the wrong person. I only shoot people who deserve to be shot. Are you sure? I looked at him, not speaking. He didn't smile either. After a while, I asked, why me? You don't know me. You can pretend you didn't see it. A long time ago, my brother worked for a small ranch up north. Clayborn came to ask for protection money. He argued, saying they were scammers. I saw his hand tighten, but his voice was steady. The next day, he died. No one dared to say what they saw. In a town like this? On the podium, you mentioned the warehouse being burned. I think you're the only one who still dares to speak. I'm not brave. I just got tired of being silent. His eyes stopped on that shoulder. My shirt slid down a little, enough to show the horse's hoof scar. When did they do that? The night after the warehouse. They want me to remember that even if I survive, I still belong to their story. Colton was silent for a few seconds, then said, no, you don't belong to them. You belong to the person who hears your truth. Listening, without doing anything, is the same thing. He stood up, poured more water. That's why you need someone to do it, not just someone to listen. That night, we ate a simple meal. Dry bread, salted meat. No candles, only oil lamps. No music, only crickets. I said in a low voice, Tate isn't joking. He'll come back, more than once. Colton leaned back in his chair, eyes still open. I know. You can let me go. I'll go through the night, over the hill, no one will find a trace. They'll still be looking, and they'll still kill people to keep them quiet. I snapped, that's none of your business. Colton looked straight at me. When my brother died, I said the same thing to myself. I fell silent. I felt the protest stuck in my throat. In that moment, in the small cabin, I realized 2 things. I wasn't the only one who'd lost someone to the Clayborn Riders. If I kept running, this would never stop. I had trouble sleeping at night. The scar ached again, a dull ache rather than a sharp pain. I was lying down when I heard horses outside. Not one, more. Tate's voice. Ward, open the door. We're here to talk. I jumped up, reached for my gun, but remembered it was still on the table in the hall. The door was open. Colton stood there, only whispering, "Stay here.